In the back.
Another Englishy question.
Okay.
So when I took literary theory and we talked about the death of the author and like how books are for readers, not for authors.
It's true.
All of the creative writing majors in my class freaked out. They hated this idea because
well, they're
their books were
narcissists.
theirs.
Yeah.
But you seem to be opposite of that. Like you're okay with it. Is that true for most real authors, or is that just me?
Real authors. Poor kids in your creative writing class. They just got owned. The question is about the idea of the death of the author. Do you want to take this?
I mean, I've heard you answer it before, so I probably could.
You know, like, books don't belong to authors, and what authors intended for their books to mean is irrelevant. I believe that very deeply. And when creative writing majors get upset when people say that, it's because they want to have ownership of their work, and they think that they matter. And they do matter. They just don't matter to the story. And it's a difficult thing. Like, how am I going to stand in front of you, with like saying like, I want you to stare at my face every other day for 4 minutes, and then pretend that I didn't write the book? And I understand that like that's a very fine line that I'm trying to walk there. I would say that books don't belong, once they've come out, once they're done, my books don't belong to me. They really do belong to you. And I can't, I made it as good as I could make it at that time, and then the rest is up to you. You know? You can read, let me give you an example. Like when I first read Huck Finn, I was 11 years old, and it was a really good book, and I really enjoyed it, and it was a great book about a raft trip. But I didn't know that it was about slavery. It was later when I read the book again that I was able to read it totally differently. Now, like, is it Mark Twain's fault that I didn't get that the book was about slavery when I was 11? I would argue that it is my fault. So, like, when I say a book belongs to a reader, that's true in both good ways and bad ways. Like, you can make the book really good, but you can also make a good book suck.
Also, I will say that in that same camp, it doesn't matter how J.K. Rowling pronounces
Accio.
No, I couldn't say that's not how you pronounce it. It's our book now.
It's our book. It's not, like J.K. Rowling is not the authority on how to pronounce the words in her books. She has no say in it whatsoever. Like, that's up to us now. And I think that's a very good point. Thank you. Yes?
So is Wisconsin a foreign country?
Is Wisconsin a foreign country?
We didn't check our passport.
It's the same country. Well, I mean, I lived in Illinois for a long time, so not foreign to me. Oh, I love it here.
It's my turn.
Are you going to continue to write
The Bacon Book.
The Bacon Books. The Bacon Book question. I find that question very awkward. I've recently read through the Bacon Book again, and in comparison to some other recent books that I have read, it's not very good.
I would argue.
Yeah, I think it's much more likely to have dragons.
I think about it a lot. But
He's still working on it. He works on it sometimes in the car.
Good.
So I have some hope. Yes.
I know some authors talk about, like, as they're writing, a character writes the story.
Yeah.
Like, they want to take it one way, but a character does something else.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that while you're writing?
The question is, like, sometimes a character, sometimes authors talk about characters taking over a story and taking a story in unexpected places. I mean, I'm sure that happens, and that must be nice. It doesn't happen to me. But I don't write the kind of books where it's like, I think, well, the famous example of that is, are you specifically referencing Stephanie Meyer, or?
No,
okay.
But that works.
Like she talks about that a lot, or at least I've heard her talk about that. And I think it's a really interesting idea to me. It's just never happened. I feel like my characters, hopefully, like, they become complex enough people that I understand them, like, almost as well as I understand myself, and, like, think that they are almost as interesting and complicated as I think I am. But I never feel like they, look, technically they can't take on lives of their own because they're contained inside my brain, which technically I have all the access to my brain that my characters have. I don't believe in some kind of, like, secret fairy pixie dust that allows my brain to be unlocked in ways that I you know, I might not be totally conscious of it, but it's still happening inside my head. So, yeah. I don't know. That's a tough question. That's why I hemmed it home. Your turn.
From a songwriting perspective, I can't write a song without writing a song, kind of. I don't know what the second verse is going to be until you write the first verse.
Right.
So like in that sense, what matters in the beginning, like carries through. Like I had no idea how the song was going to end until I started, and then my goal for the song may change halfway through because the rhymes weren't right.
Right.
So I was like, well, I'm just going to have to change.
But you're still under control of it. There's not some angel sitting on your shoulder telling you.
Sometimes the words are in control, and that's completely arbitrary.
Yes, that's a good observation. Sometimes the language is that's a really good. I totally agree. Sometimes the language is in control of changes that you don't expect, because the language is sort of weirdly limited, particularly when you're writing songs, but also when you're writing prose, because there are only so many combinations of letters that we've turned into words. So.
Okay. A lot of questions from the back.
Why did you decide to come to Racine instead of a bigger city like Madison?
Instead of something a little closer to where my house is.
Well, we wanted to make sure that you had a long drive. From our perspective, we wanted to maximize your drive. Well, it's a complicated. I'd have to show you the map for it to all make sense. But you know, it was better.
Well, I mean, it's
better for us.
The real truthful answer is that we're relying on library systems.
Yeah, like we're also relying on the support of libraries.
The ones that couldn't support us, we couldn't go there.
Well, we couldn't.
Yeah. Well, the ones that wouldn't support us, we couldn't.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Also, if you look at the map, it's a perfect line.
Oh.
That. I always wanted to have that in the background. Yes.
Have either of you read the book Who Moved My Cheese?
Have either of us read the book Who Moved My Cheese? It's like a business bestseller.
Yeah, I've seen it in Kinko's.
I have not read it.
Very good.
Very good.
There's a song by the Nerdfighting Giants about a guy named Mr. Horrible.
Oh yeah.
And he's
someone keeps moving my what?
He's this really nice guy, but somebody keeps moving his chair.
Yeah.
And it just makes him really angry, and whenever I see that book, I think about Mr. Horrible. There's no relationship.
Actually, from what I understand about the metaphor, it is pretty similar. Oh. Yeah, it's just annoying when people keep moving your cheese.
Well, I mean, what did we drive by?
Good question. Ye old something. Ye old cheese something.
Yeah.
Shop.
It wasn't shop. It was like block.
It was ye old cheese block. Yeah. Very impressive use of ye.
I had a few questions. When are we going to see fourth year when me, Mitch, learns this lesson? And what would be your advice for people who want to do things, well, in the middle of NaNoWriMo, which is a little late, but what would be your advice for people who want to start writing?
The first question is about me, Mitch learns his lesson. The much anticipated follow-up to my previous book.
It just isn't fair.
It just isn't fair. A series of books I wrote when I was 9 years old that are painfully autobiographical. In ways that I never sort of recognized at the time. I thought that I was sort of creating these brilliant characters who happened to be nerds who the world was torturing. But it turns out that like nobody bought The Artifice. Everyone who ever read that book was like, oh, I'm sorry, man. Sounds like it's pretty hard for you. Mitch learns his lesson. There is no extant copy. Maybe I will write one day. I do want to tell you a brief story, though, about my wife that no one can record. Sorry, but this is really, don't put this on YouTube or she'll kill me. Sarah was really